Okay, so this is my 1990 Mustang. It's a LX in light crystal blue. It's got, as far as I know, a stock 302 except for the GT40 top end. And it came with that as well. I didn't install that. But a few years ago, I did redo the head gasket. So as far as I can tell, it's a pretty healthy engine, despite having sat for the past 2 years. You can see I flushed the fuel lines and then wrapped them up. I probably should have sealed those up already. I might have to flush them again in case there was like any flash rust. This is an intro video, and you can see I've already done some work. Like this rear disc conversion kit looks really good. Gas tank is sitting right here. Obviously not running, needs a lot of work. My plan for it is kind of a resto mod tuner thing. I'm gonna keep that live axle, keep the Mustang DNA, but I'm gonna make it handle better. So I'm thinking panhard bar, one day maybe a torque arm. Up here is the solid steering shaft, the Maximum Motorsports. Definitely needs a lot of body work. It was backed into right on the hinge while I was in the car, and you can see right here the metal rippled. I haven't decided if that's worth repairing or just getting a new door. Kind of the same idea with the fenders. This fender I know is not stock. It says Tong Yang on it. That's not a Ford product as far as I know, but it's also got some rusty damage right here. This door's got a concerning paint crack that looks rust colored underneath. The clear coat's also messed up, a little bit harder to see with all the dirt, but this car did sit in place for 2 years, kind of rotted a little bit. So now I'm working on just getting her running again. Some other stuff, I installed this aluminum radiator in the past. This stuff is not as secure as it probably should be. It does also have a Flowmaster exhaust, except I did install BBK shorties on it shortly after I got the car. I think it had stock, just real rusty headers. Also, the previous owner did re-gear it to a 373 in the rear end, so it's got a little bit more pep. Some more examples of just like that rot from sitting for a while. The interior, while physically dirty because I've made a mess working on it in the past, it's actually super clean. It could definitely be vacuumed, but all the plastics are still black. There's no holes in any of the seats, just nasty cobwebs, and the headliner looks perfect. It looks new. I think this map light still works as well. If it doesn't, I'll definitely replace it because I think that's super cool. I don't know, but I hope this is an original manual. I think that's really cool as well. Now, like I said, I did do the rear disc conversion, and that was before I decided to make some videos. So I might just do a separate thing going over like the big pain points and how it all went down. But look at this bracket. This is actually, if you buy this bracket, which I think comes on the SN95s, you don't have to weld your paw to the gears. So I'm not a welder. I just think that's pretty cool though, that's an option. It does have a short shifter according to the previous owner. Honestly, this is the only Fox body I've driven, so I don't know exactly what I'm getting out of that. I really hate these knobs. The chrome looks stupid, and for some reason they're like oddly hard to turn, or just specifically the temperature one. So yeah, I got this car probably when I was 21 years old. First manual transmission I ever bought. I learned on this. It was icy outside. I have my suspicions that the previous owner wasn't super honest with me, but I was very inexperienced at the time. Honestly, I still am. I'm just a lot more well-read, although a lot of the work I'm doing on this car I've never done on cars. The head gaskets was the hardest thing I had ever done before I started on like this project, and my father helped me with those. He is an experienced mechanic, so it was a bit of a crutch, but now I'm just kind of leaning on my ability to use tools, seeing if I can pull this off. I actually traded a 2004 Wrangler with lower miles. I traded way down for this in value. I really wanted a clean Fox body at the time. This seemed like that. I think it was pretty clean at the time actually, but age took a toll on it. Just in the past few years, honestly. I took to Reddit to figure out what this was about. Turns out it's got like a charcoal canister delete. It's very expensive to replace all that, probably $300. So I'm gonna try this vented gas cap for a while instead. If I feel like it's too gas fumey in here, I might just fork out the money. It is funny because someone in the comments pointed out that my gas tank's probably hissing at me, And yeah, they're right. It's hissed at me for years when I took the gas cap off. And I guess now I know why. This is also, like any old Fox body, a victim of the saggy hinge. Or door pins, I guess. So yeah, also, you know, new rotors on all 4 corners. I did learn the hard way. I just recently sold them, but I bought rotors at first where my bearings didn't fit. They were too big, and it turns out the 4-cylinder rotors have a smaller bearing race. So that was kind of a big waste of money. Also, it's been sitting on its subframe since I pulled it into the garage. The funny thing about getting it into the garage is we busted the taillight because the drum was so seized, it was just pretty much impossible to push. I wish I just clipped that beforehand. You know, a big thing about doing a project like this with little to no experience, you know, a big thing is just learning your tools, how to use them. It also helps if you have a second car, so the stakes are a little bit lower. If you break something or you get the wrong part, you're not stranded for a while. But also buying the right tool the first time goes a long way to, I mean, you know, we have to get creative sometimes, maybe a little bit more than sometimes, but generally just having a good set of tools, it goes an incredibly long way. I've probably spent about as much on tools as I have on car parts. No, not really, that's a little bit hyperbolic, but up until some time ago, that was actually probably true. I also have a lot of tools I bought just for this, and I don't know if I would own otherwise or if I would ever use again. These line wrenches right here, I was stripping out brake lines, so you know, that's why I said get the right tool the first time. I sucked it up, bought the line wrenches, but now that the brakes are done, I'm not sure I'll ever use them again. I kind of hope something breaks so I have a reason to, but I mean, I guess it's cool that I have them now. Same idea for this. I have a Metabo cutting wheel back there, and I specifically bought that to cut a piece of the e-brake. I also used it to grind down some surface rust and paint over it, but again, I don't get much use out of that. I wanted the right tool. Same idea with the impact, although I have gotten a little bit more use out of this. But I mean, the idea there was to pull my suspension apart. Pretty effective. I try to not resort to power tools unless I need to. So I'm not even getting as much use out of it as I thought I would. It also helps to have a father who's a career mechanic and can give you his old shit. So he just gave me these old Craftsman toolboxes, including that middle one right there. I think I might have actually already covered everything. I mean, what do we got? The GT40 top end. We got the 373s in the rear, the full exhaust. There's a new aluminum radiator in it. Oh, it's got the cold air intake going into the fender. That's kind of neat. And that's just, I mean, those are the mods at my starting point. Oh, and the short shifter. Those are the mods at my starting point. I've done some stuff to this. I just am reshooting the intro video because I didn't like how I approached it the first time. So, you know, I actually already did the steering racks installed. I'm working on those videos right now. Oh, let's see. Yeah, no negative terminal. And I have terminals to put on. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'd really like to put the battery in the back. And that goes kind of into my plans for this. I'm gonna really stiffen up the chassis. You know, since we're looking under the hood right now, I do want like a strut brace, a 3.1. I think my next project, which I say project, I'm probably gonna pay someone, is subframe connectors. And then after the chassis stiffened up, I think a panhard bar with like the Poor Man 3-link is probably the next move. And even before that, I think I'm gonna do all the bushings back here with polyurethane, except for the upper control arms. Those will probably stay rubber because it's my understanding it puts a lot of stress on the torque boxes and you need some flex in your control arms. So the stock upper control arms with the rubber bushings is the way to go. There are some KYBs in here, it seems. Looks like the previous owner also put new shocks all around. Some stuff that's pretty weird. This car never had a sway bar in it, and I didn't know what to look for when I got the car. It's my understanding some of these did not come with a sway bar, but I'd really like to have one. Again, I really want it to handle and corner really well. But also there's no quad shocks, and I think that's pretty weird because the tires on it that it came with were 225s on stock pony rims. So I'm not entirely sure why the quad shocks were removed. There's a good chance maybe they raced it or something. They had much bigger wheels back there and kind of got it back to stock before they sold it to me. It's just one of those clues that, you know, I knew less about this car than I realized when I bought it. Just to put in perspective, like I said, we already did the brakes, and I had never even bled brakes before. I had a friend come over and help me with that. But nonetheless, I did most of the rear disc conversion by myself, probably 99%. Some stuff I genuinely needed another hand for, but I mean, they work great. Well, I haven't tested them on the street, but when we apply brakes, we can't turn the rotor. Same with the e-brake. And there is some silliness with that I'll probably cover in another video about some of the really stupid stuff, some of the surprisingly easy stuff. So yeah, and you know, a little bit more perspective, this is just my apartment garage. I'm paying a little bit extra. So I guess I'm hoping people get something out of this, because I'm a pretty average salaried guy. Just trying to pour all my time and money into a project car without, you know, a ton of professional mechanical experience. I did used to work on jets in the past, so I have a basic idea of turning wrenches and stuff. It's not super comparable to the stuff I'm doing here. You know, when a lot of aircraft mechanics will work on like one system, they'll just be completely specialized. I was a fuel systems mechanic. A lot of just like super accessible bolt-on parts. So I mean, the stuff I've done on this car is harder than anything I'd ever done on a jet. And I would say even when I left the military, I was still a pretty novice mechanic at best. So yeah, just some perspective. It's been a marathon, not a sprint. A lot of the stuff that's already happened has been done over the course of years and years. You know, accumulating a bunch of tools, even the tools I bought just for this car, a lot of the parts, you know, like this gas tank was bought and put together months ago. Some of the stuff I put on recently, again, bought and put together months ago. Because even when you buy like these kits of things, sometimes they just sit in a box for a while until you get like that one last thing you need, or maybe you're mid-install and it's like, okay, well now I need these bushings, this part, I need this tool. Sometimes I gotta wait till payday for that because I gotta be responsible. I can get down here and kind of show you a little bit more what we're dealing with. You can see the black spots where I mentioned earlier I went after some surface rust. Nothing too crazy, I just didn't want it to keep growing. I very recently closed up the rear diff after doing the brake job. I had never even removed axles before, and I can actually show you a mistake I made because of that. But first, you know, I just kind of want to show off like the strut towers and stuff. Not the cleanest, and you can even see a little bit of surface rust in there, but overall pretty good condition. And here's what I was talking about. I had never done axles before, and I mean, I still probably could have avoided this with some common sense, but when I put the axle back in, I was hitting the dust cover here, and so I thought I had a clearance issue, and I attempted to bend it back out of place. However, the axle was sitting an inch or two farther in than it's supposed to because I hadn't put the cross pin back in the differential and brought it back out a little bit where it's actually supposed to sit. And so I ended up having to bend that back, and now it looks like crap. But it's a fairly inconsequential issue. Another thing is, this right here is a drive shaft bolt. The kit was missing these bolts, and I found out just messing around that fits perfectly. And it's super tight. I put some blue Loctite on it just to make sure, but in case you're wondering, yeah, these caliper bracket bolts, exactly the same as the drive shaft bolt. I did put new pinions. I can't see shit. That looks a lot more wet than it should, huh? I wonder what happened. Okay, we're gonna have to revisit that. I'm not, oh no, the brake line's leaking. It never made a puddle though. I wonder how long that's been leaking for. Okay, well, see, it's gonna have the line wrenches, huh? I was gonna say I changed the pinion seal and such, and I also put new axle seals behind these brakes. That really sucks. I really thought I was done with the brakes on this, but I got another leak. Okay, well, it really sucks that I found that brake line leak, but I'm glad I did. I think that kind of wraps up kind of the overview of the car, where it stands. Honestly, it's in a little bit of a better spot than when I should have made this video, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'm hoping to have a pretty decently consistent series with this, and we'll see how far it goes. I mean, it'll be over a few years. It'll probably be hard to upload super consistently. I just want to do one video per major project. For instance, I'm working on the power steering still. Again, I have a full-time job. I can get to this after work sometimes, not all the time. So just the power steering is taking me a couple months. And you know, a lot of the hardest stuff is getting these 30-year-old rust-seized bolts off. Sometimes I'm just beating the shit out of things to get it removed. And yeah, I might spend a whole session in here just on one thing that's stuck. So yeah, anyway, that's it. This is the project. This is my old Mustang, my first manual car. I'm gonna try to turn it into a little street racer, corner carver thing. So yeah, stay tuned. Let's just, before ending this one, let's do a few of these. Okay, then let's go look at our line again. Okay, it's not dripping. And what I learned from reading, because this happened on another brake line, is if it just keeps dripping, no matter how many times you retighten it, just in one attack, you loosen, tighten like 10 times. Eventually it seats right and no more drips. Also, it completely destroyed the paint on my axle. Granted, it's probably factory paint. Went very good anyway after 30 years, but yep, that's screwed. So I guess I figured I'd have to paint the axle at some point, but this is why you don't let brake fluid sit on your paint. Okay, now the video's over.